Let's do this. Hello, this is PalicoPadge and welcome to a bit of an unusual episode of me for the start of 2022. Squiggling out of my chair already. Uncomfortable. Don't like being on camera generally, but hey ho, here I am. And just thought I'd do a little bit of a retrospective on 2021 and what's going to be happening in the near future and leading into the subsequent months of 2022 and beyond, maybe. We'll see how it goes. You have to excuse the attire. I've just come back from the Hitman Agent 47 annual meeting. So, but I'll go to that in a little bit anyway. So, well, we'll start off. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you've had a good one. It's been a nice break for me. I've had 2 weeks off with the boy and with my partner. We did a few things around the house. We hosted in our new house, which was very nice. Took on the partner's parents and sister and husband. So that was a tight but pleasant squeeze on Christmas Day. And then my biological father came over on the Friday? On the Boxing Day. It's a Sunday. I don't even know why I said Friday. And we went for a walk and had a bit of, leftovers and whatnot. And then in between Christmas and New Year, I went all the way up to York via a lovely visit to a place called Arcade Club in Bury, which I'm going to bring out a video of in the next week also. It's just a very small travelogue, just showing you what I got up to with the boy. It's essentially Europe's largest retro arcade, which was awesome. we were supposed to be there for about 4 hours. We ended up being there for over 6.5 hours. The boy was getting a little bit tired towards the end, and that's why we had to leave. And sadly, when you're trying to jostle a 3.5-year-old around several floors of games, and you want to play a certain game, it's hard to do that and keep an eye on what he's doing. So it's some place which I will go back to in the future, hopefully in the near future. I'd like to go back very soon, but I don't think it's going to happen. And just crack on and play some of the more games I saw. I've had a little bit of time with, but I'd like to have a lot more time with. Everything is on free play there essentially. So if there's no one on it, you can stay on it until the cows come home, which means there's a lot of arcade games you can play, which ultimately you would have been popping, £5, £6, £7+ in just to get to where you get to on 10 minutes worth of play on free play, which is awesome. And it's very cheap as well, considering what you're paying for. I think it cost us £16 for the day, and that's from 10 o'clock in the morning, possibly 11. I think it was 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, anyway, all the way through to 8 o'clock at night. Free play all day. Can't moan. And the food was very reasonable as well. But by the by, I'm getting distracted already. That'll be in a separate video. We also went and saw my sister, who's just given birth to her first child, which was the main reason for going up there. And we went and saw the National Railway Museum as well, because my boy is mad on trains. That was pretty cool. And then we have a quiet New Year. We don't really celebrate New Year here. You can't with a little one, so that was all hunky-dory. And we went into 2002 and hit the ground running. But again, I shall teach you on why I'm dressed like I am and what that means a little bit later on in this video. So, the year 2021. Bit of a shit year, but not without its really big ups in my life. But subsequently, that was followed by one big down as well. So if you're not aware, back in the end of January, start of February, we took on our first house. We are proud homeowners of a 3-bed detached. And with any new build house, there have been issues, several issues, which have mostly been seen to now. There's a few things still outstanding, but there's stuff they can't do until they lay the roads, which is fine. Not gonna look into that any deeper. Not gonna call them lazy or lackluster or anything like that. But let's just say there were issues within the house where you could tell that the job was rushed, and they've had to come back and fix those jobs. And you'd think from a sort of a money perspective that it'd make more sense to get the job done properly the first time than having to rush through it and then call in someone, usually a contractor from outside of the builders, to come and rectify that problem. So that's going to cost them more money. Do it once properly and you're sorted. Can't understand why there's an issue by that, but apparently there is. So we've been cracking on with that. There's been a few things I've done to the house personally, painting fences, laying slabs. That was good fun several times. I've ripped out a load of bark and put a load of gravel down as well. So the house is getting to the point where it's feeling more like a home now. Ignore the mess behind you. That is this room doesn't really count. It's the office slash sort of cubby room. It's where we keep a lot of stuff. But in turn, all this stuff you see behind me will be going up somewhere or other. I don't know. We'll get to that point. I'm looking at some more cupboards at some point. So yeah, we'll sort all that out. I'd like to show off all my horror DVDs. Got a lot of zombie films all packed away. If I can have some sort of shelving up here. Where are we? Over here. Where they're out of his way and you can see them if you so choose. That'd be pretty cool. I'd like to show them off, but we'll see how that goes. So the house, yeah, it's cracking on nicely. Been here almost 12 months now. Very happy with that generally. I'd like to do something about the echoing in this room, but usually I'm a lot closer to the mic when I record, so you don't get as much echo as you do when you're far away. But never mind. The big downer of this year, and I won't go too deeply into it, but my mom died very out of the blue 2 weeks after we moved into our house, so I've had to deal with that. It was an aneurysm, so there was like no warning signs whatsoever. She just went. I managed to get there before she died and hold her hand through it. So came with its own issues, sort of a son perspective, and obviously families and whatnot. They're complicated matters at the best of times, and yeah, that's all we should be saying on that. There's no need to go too personal on that. And like I've said, the other big thing, which you can probably tell because I'm never suited and booted, there is another change in my life which has happened at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. But we'll crack on with the games first. So because of the issues which have been going on and the little breaks I've had to have in between, what I'd like to have done ideally, which was a fluent run through with this channel, we have only been able to focus on a few games, some which have been fun, some of which have been one-offs, and obviously there's some staples of the channel as well, which have proven to be beneficial for me, definitely. It's interesting to be able to have the information available to me where I can see the process of game development, which as an outsider, as an end user, essentially you don't usually have. So that's been lovely to be able to have a snippet and see how things happen. Well, without further ado, we talk about Curious Expedition 2. Generally speaking, it's been very good. I've had a lot of fun with it. We've done as much as we can do with the vanilla experience. I've managed to play through and successfully complete each of the different modes available, besides the endless mode. I'm not a big fan of endless modes in general. I think it's just a way of extending your time with a game when it's come to its natural end. And the nice thing about Curious Expedition 2, with its usual modes, and with being story and the director mode, is there is that sort of finalization of what you're playing, an ending, if you will. It's not necessarily a hard ending, so it's something which, as updates come along, they can possibly build upon. But I think as far as from somebody who likes to focus on games where the story is predominant, and you do get that hard beginning and hard end, and you can sort of bookcase it, sort of bookend it. Definitively have a start and an end, so you know that is a game you have played and you've got the most out of it. I think is what I like about it. I could play roguelikes all day and do Binding of Isaac playthroughs and different ways of doing that, but ultimately it's the stories I like to focus on. These days there are so many games out there where there are fantastic stories being told by both AAA developers and indie developers that I think to extend a play on a YouTube channel beyond the story they've set out to tell you is derivative to the content on that channel. Unless that's what you like to do. If you like to focus on one game, all power to you. Personally, as this is my hobby, I like to be able to cover as much as I can. And as I become a father to Jacob, it's a case that the time that I do get to myself, and essentially when you see me game, that is the only time I am gaming at the moment. I just like to cover as much as I can. My backlog on Steam is ridiculous. It's crazy. I not only do I have a backlog on Steam, I have a backlog, a little notepad document on my desktop of games I want to bring to the channel, and those games are being added on as I go and find good deals, or I get offered keys or betas or early access or what have you. And that list is getting longer. So obviously I'm having to prioritize certain games because obviously betas don't go on forever, early access doesn't go on forever, and there's games which I've bought which I thought, well, they're a bit kooky, something interesting there, or something which generally uh, uh, just encapsulates me, mostly zombie games. They get pushed away, they get pushed to the back. So that is something which, having this channel is a good way of me being able to say, right, we've done that game, let's move on to the next, see what's on the list, and see what we can crack on with. So yeah, Curious Expedition 2, very fun. I know there are updates coming from what I've read on the flyers. As far as the content I provide for Curious Expedition 2, like I've done with Curious Expedition previously, i.e. guides and whatnot, those are things I will be cracking on with in the new year. Say new year, we're in the new year soon. But yeah, as far as playthroughs are concerned, other than doing it on hard mode, which I know a few people are interested in seeing me do, I think, and until something major comes along, as far as content is concerned or additional story, I don't think you'll be seeing me play through quite as intensely as I have been and bringing it to the channel as much as I have been. It'll be more probably longer episodes, maybe once a week rather than twice or 3 times a week, but we'll just see how that goes. The other big one which I've been working on this year, and one which again has been more pleasurable for me because I've had a little bit of back and forth with the developer, is Golden Crone Hotel. Now, as I said, going on about roguelites, the nice thing about roguelikes or roguelites in general is you do get that replayability. The nice thing about the Golden Crow Hotel is the fact that they give you several different characters with different play styles which you can go through the game with, and therefore it keeps it a little bit more interesting. So in turn, we have covered all the different characters or costumes as they're referred to in the game within the playthrough that we've done. It does mean that the game does drag on a bit, especially if you do get on a bit of a roll and can have several episodes with one character, but in turn it also means that we have been able to complete the game on easy mode and be able to see the story of that, which again is pretty cool. I know there was a lot of books which I picked up throughout the playthrough, which I'll be honest with you, I haven't read. But again, it's just nice to see a developer put that background story into a game. So if you want to dive into the world, it's there. You can do it. And all power to you if that's the way you want to go. So that's been very much a fun thing. One of the games I have been able to knock off the list this year, which has been on there for a while, is Westorado Double Barreled. Conveniently finishing in Christmas week, which I never expected to do. I just happened to be walking through the town, spotted the guy who looked pretty much like the guy I had to find, and it kicked off the end game, which was great. From what I gather, although I think in the playthrough I seemed a little bit disappointed with the ending, from what I gather that is one of several endings, and that is one of the more harder endings to get. So for a first blind playthrough, very happy with that. I'm not going to go into detail about it here, but if you've seen Fight Club, you know what that's all about. So that was indeed a fun game to play. Again, not sure if I'd go back to it, knowing that there are more endings to the story, a more pure ending, if you will. There is obviously an opportunity to do that, but with so many games that I've got on my backlog, and to be honest with you, now I've had to think about it, I do like the ending. There's a bit of a twist on your standard sort of ending you'd expect from a Western in the sort of genre anyway. It's a good place to leave it, I think. It's just something different, and you don't always get that. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with that game. As far as retro games are concerned, the big one this year for me has been Leisure Suit Larry 6. Now, I've said this in the very first video you'll find on this channel since I relaunched it. Leisure Suit Larry as a series and Leisure Suit Larry as a character is one of my favourite computer games and characters ever. It encapsulates for me the bawdy 1980s sex comedies there were a lot of back in the day, and to be able to play that interactively and have, how do I say this, more of an un-PC view on things. It's just a little bit nostalgic for me. I am a kid of the 80s at the end of the day, and it was fun. And generally speaking, when it comes to my first experience in PC gaming, the VGA version of Leisure Suit Larry 1 was one of the first games that I was introduced to, along with Monkey Island 2. So point and clicks, love them. Leisure Suit Larry, got a soft spot for. So it was nice to be able to bring it to the channel. Now, as far as the way I played that game is concerned, in the the shell, as it were. I do own it on Good Old Games. I own the entire series on Good Old Games. However, I did find this new thing. I say new thing. This thing new to me this year called Exodus. Now, if you are a DOS gamer or you have fond memories of playing certain DOS games, I implore you to go and check that out. I'm not going to put any links down below because from what I gather, it's not the most legal thing to be doing because of what's available and it being free. But if you have got a penchant for old gaming, especially DOS gaming, then I would implore you to go and check that out. It's good. Exodus, EXODOS. That's as much as I'm going to help you on that. Go and check it out. It's definitely worth your time if that's the sort of thing you're into. And then betas and early access. I played Death Trash this year, which I very much like the aesthetic. The story is interesting. But because it does seem to be a purely story-driven game, it's not something which I want to jump into too much when it's on the early access route, because you get to a point where you can't go any further, and possibly, depending on how the developer goes about with his builds, you may have to start from the beginning again. And I don't really want to be getting deep into a story and then finding that I have to restart and replay things which I've already seen before, especially as it can be quite linear in parts from what I gather. If I'm wrong, please tell me, but from what I gather, it can be pretty linear. So for the sake of being efficient with my time, I don't really want to touch that until it goes to full release, at which point I can most probably see that coming to the channel in some way or another. It's one of those things which I struggle out with as a YouTube creator. I could go and play every early access game and beta which becomes available to me on the day it's released, and I could have the sub numbers rocket through the roof because everyone wants to come and see the brand new thing. From my perspective, as I said before, I like using this channel as kind of an excuse to play through games which I wouldn't necessarily play through without having that discipline of saying, right, I've started it on video, go and finish it. So it's been nice for me to have that, but that does mean that you do miss out on certain things. I've noticed that whenever I've had a subscriber spike over the past 12 months, it's basically been from either the Death Trash video I've put out, because I was pretty much on the ball with that, or anything to do with Curious Expedition 2. Oh, and Sheltered 2 as well. And that's because I was jumping onto them when they were fresh. Now, as I said, I could do that all day, every day. I think it'd be pretty exhausting, and there'd be a lot of things which I'd start and never finish, and that's not me. I like to play through games, and as I said, this is a story-driven gaming channel. It's what I like to do. You do get the odd one in there, which are from nostalgia's sake or mechanical perspectives that I enjoy, but generally speaking, I like to play games with a story, and that's what you can expect from here. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes with those as they get released. Sheltered 2, I'm less inclined to play Sheltered 2 on the channel because it does follow a very similar route to how I played Sheltered, the original Sheltered. And the problem with that game is it just goes on and on and on. And as far as gameplay is concerned, it gets very boring pretty quickly. So I think as soon as you covered the mechanics of it, you'd have to do and everything new has been introduced, you are working towards an end goal where ultimately is get enough of this stuff to be able to accomplish this or escape here. Now with the original Sheltered, if you haven't watched it on my channel, I did it to the point where I actually created my own ending where I had enough to build up the car, and then I had to put together this whole car ending, going over some hills and driving away, and that was the end for me. But that wasn't actually the end of the game. I just thought that the game had run its course. I didn't just want to say, right, and that's it, thanks for watching, bye bye, on to the next. I wanted to sort of finish it off a little bit. So that's what I did, and that's why I don't think I'll be playing Sheltered 2 on the channel, although I have been offered a key. I haven't accepted it. Just it's how I feel. There's plenty of other things to cover on the channel, so it's there if you want to play it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's something which, if I didn't do YouTube, I would possibly play off camera, because it's one of those games where you can just plug away at it in your own time, sort of switch your mind off a little bit and just crack on and enjoy it. But it's too similar to the first game for me to be able to say, right, let's have a fresh playthrough of this. And retro gaming, again, I've covered some of the old favourites of mine. I did a Blockbuster one back in the day. I'll take a B, please, Bob. If you remember that, if you're British. I don't know if it came out in America. It possibly did. We steal from them all the time. They steal from us all the time. I know we got like Wheel of Fortune off them, so I'm sure they probably had Blockbusters in some version or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, fond memories of that. Part of the game pack I had when I had my Commodore 64 originally. Just fancied to play through it, so we did that. So you want to be a rock star? Again, one of my favourite Rockstar games. When you think about it, there's not many games out there where you play as the Rockstar from an RPG perspective. I know there's been a few bandy things, and there was light RPG elements in like certain Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. But to be able to say, right, okay, I'm going to write a song today, or I'm going to produce an album, I'm going to go on a gig, or I'm going to take a stupid amount of drugs with my grandma. Those are things which you just don't get the opportunity to do in every game. So it's always fun to go back to that and play it every so often. And I just happened to put it in a video again to see if I could do any better. And subsequently, I couldn't. So there you go. And then... yeah, Flintstones. That's a game which, again, I've got fond memories of. I know it's not a good game, especially on the Commodore 64, but you can probably tell by the playthrough that I was very excited when I got past that wallpaper section. That's not something I've ever been able to do as a child, so be able to do it as an adult, especially as an adult with a child who does tend to take up every available moment of my free time. I can completely appreciate why Fred, when he's facing the baby in game, is smiling, and when he turns away, he's frowning, because... yeah, that guy doesn't get a lot of space to himself. So yeah, fair play to that, and fair play to me for playing it again. That was a lot of fun. So those are all the main games. I have been at the odd single episode games I've done, filler episodes. I like to think of them as not necessarily good games, but games I own and games I've covered. And again, it gets a video out there, and it sounds like an excuse. It probably is, in all fairness. But yeah. Generally speaking, I've been very happy with what's gone on with the channel this year as far as what we've covered. As anyone would say, even big YouTubers, they'd like to cover a lot more, but it's what you can do with the time you're given, and that's as good as I can do with the time I've been given. But going on about times and being dressed a little bit like Agent 47, this leads on to the next big thing which I would like to talk to you about, and that is I have a new job. So, a little bit of a background check on what I was doing previously. For the past 18 and a half years, I have worked at an electrical wholesaler. It has been in a warehouse at this time of year, a very cold warehouse. And it's got to the point now where the owner's son, I originally started working for his dad, who's sadly passed away now. The owner's son has become very vocal about wanting to end the business within the next 7 to 8 years. Now, I am verging on... encroaching upon my 40s. I'm late 30s at the moment, and I had to make a decision both for me and for my family as a unit. Do I want to wait another 7-8 years to be then put out on my ass to start afresh elsewhere, be it in the same trade or in a new trade, or do I get out when the opportunity arises and go for broke and just see how I get on? If you don't try, you don't know, essentially. And an opportunity came across in commercial insurance brokers. So I've given it a whirl. And that's why I'm more suited and booted. Rather than being in a polo shirt and cargos for a living, I now go with a tie and suit. I have serious imposter syndrome at the moment. I go in there and everyone's suited and booted and talking the lingo, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm used to talking to electricians about cables and old age pensions about light bulbs. This seems a little bit beyond me, but they've been very accommodating for the past 2 days. I've only had 2 days in the job at the moment, and I'm watching an awful lot of videos, which apparently is how modern businesses work. I used to work in a wholesaler which has been around since the 80s. Sometimes it felt like I was in a 1970s sitcom with some of the banter which went on there. So this is all new to me. So I'm embracing this whole new world which has been opened up to me. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to cracking on with that. I do have 2 weeks of training coming up, which I've been told is pretty intense, and then I'll be let loose with a couple of the same guys I'm working with at the moment. And we'll just see how it goes. My partner has been in this insurance brokers for 2 years now, and she's been made a manager, and she's done extremely well. They look after her really well, and it seems to be the type of place where if you knuckle down and do your job and go a little bit of an extra mile, you do get rewarded for it. And coming from someone who essentially feels like they've been taken for granted over the past few years especially, it's nice to see that I have the opportunity available to me if I put my head down and get on with it. And I think I'm clever enough to be able to go far. So what could possibly be a good job could turn it potentially into a great career for me, to the point where I believe I could have letters after my name if I so choose to go down that route, which would be very adult of me, but there you go. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. However, because of that and the potential 2 weeks of intense training I've got coming up, and the learning of the ropes in general, this channel is going on a bit of a hiatus for the next month. I'm not planning on releasing anything on a constant output until February at the very least. There is the retro gaming video I want to do, as far as going to Arcade Club in Bury, which I did do a recording with my boy and my partner, just showing you the odd game and just talking through generally what we got up to that day. Call it a little travelogue, if you will. That's going to be about 5-10 minutes long tops. I'm looking to get that out to you in the next couple of weeks, as and when my time comes to me. But generally speaking, that's all you're probably going to see as far as gameplay and whatnot is concerned. However, when I do relaunch my more constant videos, I will be kicking off with my Curious Expedition 2 parody song. This is something which has been in the work for a fair amount of time now. About 8 months. So that's something we've really got to get out there. I've chosen the songs. I've written the majority of the lyrics. I just want to. I'm doing a couple of songs. One everyone will know. One which is a bit more abstract, very much 80s. And I don't know whether to do it as a separate song and do it later on in the year and just do the one song now, or do like a mega mix and join them all together, maybe get a bit of a mixing on. And also I need to get the footage, which is generally me snipping out the parts of the gameplay where things are happening on screen as opposed to me being on the map, so meeting natives, fights, stuff like that, much like I did in the first parody video. But that's something which I wanted to record separately to the gameplay I've done, especially with the new stuff which has been introduced in the new Highlands of Avalon DLC, because there's obviously a lot more different places you can go, people you can meet, fight, etc, etc. So that is something which I need to put together. Again, another reason why I could really do with not having the feeling that I need to put out 4 episodes a week and also produce that on the side. It's something I can just crack on with and do without the pressure of recording. So that's something I will be working on. Later on in the year, I will be doing tutorials and guides. And the other thing I've been doing off camera over Christmas is playing Curious Expedition 2 story mode, so I can open up all 3 of the factions and all the items and generally just get a feel on how those items play. And then I'll be able to do tutorials or guides on all 3 factions and the items they have and the people they have inside them and the perks and the cons, and generally just, you know, get as many sort of guides for that out there as possible. I would argue that the Curious Expedition 2 as a game is a bit more difficult as far as mechanics are concerned and options available compared to the original. There are other downsides to the game, like I can't see modding being a thing on this one, which it's quite predominant in the first, and that's how I got a lot of extra life out of that game by playing with the character mods. It'd be lovely if there was a way of them creating mods, and if that comes open to particularly gifted people to be able to do that, then I'll be all for playing them, definitely. But as it stands right now, I can't see that being an option, but never say never. We'll see what happens. Other things, updates, any updates which come out, so I have been made savvy to, I will try and cover to the best of my ability. I have been gifted certain heads up when it comes to any updates coming along, so I have been able to prepare stuff for when they've gone live, which hopefully that relationship between me and the MMs will carry on, and I'll be able to bring them to my channel. And hard mode, it's something which a couple of people have commented on. Obviously with the original game, after I completed it on normal, I went straight to hard mode. It is something which I am looking at doing. My experience of hard mode has been that the jump from normal to hard is ridiculous. It is a hell of a slope. And it's not something which I think if I was to play on screen, I would get too much of a play out of. I don't think I'd last that long. And I don't think that's down to my skill as a player or my knowledge of the game, but more to do with just how the RNG tends to treat you on hard mode. It's a lot harsher. So don't get me wrong, normal mode, you have to have a lot of luck in normal mode and a little bit of skill to know what to look out for and where to go to finish certain later stages. That's for sure. There's so much I noticed whilst playing the game. There's certain things you look out for, and that's what ultimately saved my ass on more than one occasion on my playthrough. So hard mode, I wouldn't expect much. By all means, I'll bring it to the channel. We'll give it a whirl, but I wouldn't expect anything glorious from my perspective. I just haven't got the time to put into to be able to record and give you the full playthrough of a hard mode. As again, never say never. It might happen. I might be lucky, but I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you. And at this point, I'm open to suggestion. As I said, I've got a lot of games lined up on my list. There's no particular order in which I'd like to play them. But if you think there's any games out there which might interest me or maybe more story driven and fit this channel a bit more, or you think I'm just going to kick out of, I'm open to suggestion. Write it down in the comments below. I'll have a look and we'll check it out. And if it's really cheap or I can get a key for it, why not? Let's give it a whirl. Now, the one big thing I've taken from this new job is that my free time does get a bit bigger. I work 1 hour less a day. I still get my hour's lunch, but there will be days where I'm working from home, which means I can probably record a cheeky episode in my lunch hour. Whereas at the moment, I'm having to record on Wednesday nights only. Hence why I'm doing this tonight. And that's simply because my boy isn't around and I don't have those distractions of having daddy all the time, which, believe me, if I did do it, that's what you'd hear a lot of. There'd be a lot of distractions. And although a few of them, you would probably find it humorous at first, I'm sure over time it would probably grate you as much as it would grate me. So that's why I do my recordings on the one night he's not here. But leading into the future, who knows, as he goes to school, stops over with grandparents more maybe, we'll see. As it stands, I'm quite happy with the 4 episodes a week of whatever I'm recording. If I get to the point where I've got a very large backlog of videos to pull out there, then I will pull out extra videos. But I think we'll stick to that for the time being and just see how that pans out. You might find that come February, there might be times where there's only 3 or 2 episodes a week, depending on how I'm getting on with my job. Obviously, this is priority. I'm learning an entirely new area of work. Completely, my expertise, my last job is null and void. I'm not completely, other than my salesmanship and being able to talk to people, which in turn this YouTube channel has helped me with being able to just jibber jabber. It's something which I really want to get to grips with and get up to speed as quick as possible and be earning my pay. Plus, if I pull out, don't want to pull out. If I work hard, it is commission based, so obviously that means I put my money up, and that's even better for me. So I want to sort of get to grips with the job as quickly as I can. Yeah, as I said, I'd like to think I've got more time available for recording or maybe editing. So maybe you'll find more edited stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. See how the day goes. But that's pretty much it. I suppose the last thing to say, because I've been jibber-jabbering for over half an hour now, is thank you. Thank you very much for sticking with me this year. It's been a year of tremendous highs and the deepest lows. It's things I've never thought I'd experience at my age, and under normal circumstances I shouldn't really experience under my age. No one should lose their mum early like I have. I know people, it's a difficult one to say. I was talking to a guy at work who lost his mum at 25, so losing her at 38 isn't a bad thing, but obviously it could be a lot better. And that coupled with the high of moving in literally 2 weeks after, it's been a very rocky year for me, but in a good way and a bad way. Obviously, I've had other things to focus on with the house and my boy as well. So thanks for hanging about. Thanks for all you new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the videos, or lack thereof at the moment. And hey, I've been doing this for 4 years now. I think it's 4 years. Up to 4 years. So there's lots of stuff in my backlog to watch. If I'm not around for a bit, just go and pick an old series. I can't guarantee it's going to be as polished as these are. I can't guarantee it's going to be as amusing, but there's stuff out there. So if you want a little bit of Padge whilst I'm away, I'm here. I'm just, it's an older, younger, more naive, slightly more immature Padge. Only slightly though. So yeah, enjoy. And as soon as I can get back up to speed with this, believe me, I'll be back all over it. I love doing this. It's my hobby. It's one more thing. I don't go out drinking. I'll drink at home, have a few, get on a video, record some crap, put it out there, and a lot of you guys seem to like it. So I do appreciate it a lot. So happy New Year to you all, and we'll catch up very soon. Until then, stay safe and take it easy.